We created a new appointment in the calendar, and we did it quickly and easily, but we basically only gave it a name, and there's many more options and details you can set on an appointment or other calendar item. You can see this if you create a new appointment by clicking on the button here in the toolbar, and you can see the dialog box where we can set all these different options. If you wish to modify or edit the details and options of an existing item in your calendar, just double-click on it to open it up. Here we can see the ribbon, and we're looking at the appointment tab of the ribbon, with various controls and options we can set. And there's room for a lot more detail in here. We already gave it a subject. Maybe we need to give it a location, and you can just type one in, or if you've been using Outlook and you've been setting locations, you can use this drop-down arrow here to choose from one you've used previously. So I'm going to choose my office. You can modify the start time and end time here, starting with the date or the day, using the date navigator if you choose, or you can modify the start and end times. I'm going to reconsider here and make this one only a 30-minute appointment. Now there's another option here that says all-day event. Notice right now we're looking at an appointment. If I click this all-day event, it actually changes the type of item it is in the calendar to an event. What that means is events don't block time out on your calendar. They're shown as free. An event would be something like a conference you're attending, and it wouldn't stop you from putting other things in the calendar that were appointments that you needed to attend. And also, it's going to change your free busy information, so if you publish or send your calendar to somebody else, they'll show that time as free. I don't want it to be an event, it's just an appointment, so I'm going to uncheck this, change it back into an appointment. You've got some space here to put in more details, so any other information you might need for this appointment you can place in here. I just put in some text, but if you like, if you go to the Insert tab on the ribbon, you can also attach files, business cards, insert pictures, whatever else you might need for this appointment. Now one of the things you can change here is your free busy information. By default, appointments are set as busy. So if you want this to show as busy on your calendar, and if you try to create another appointment, it'll say it conflicts if it's in the same time frame as this. You can set this to tentative instead if you'd rather, or free, or even out of office, depending on what makes sense. In this case, I want to set this time aside. I don't want anything to interfere with it, so I'm going to leave it as busy. Now by default, there was a reminder set on this appointment for 15 minutes before. I can hit this little drop-down arrow and modify that. So if I want to be reminded an hour before, I can choose that instead. I can also set recurrence. So if this is something I want to do every week or every other week, or I want this particular appointment to recur, I can click on the recurrence button and access the recurrence settings. So to begin with, you can modify your start and end times here and the duration of the meeting. But I think half an hour makes sense. Then you can set the recurrence pattern. So do you want it daily, weekly, monthly? I think it makes sense to do this weekly, so I'm going to leave it there. And I want to do it every week. You could do it every second week if you'd like. Thursday mornings is a good time for me, so I'm going to choose that. Notice you can have more than one if you choose, so I could do it Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. But I'm just going to leave it on Thursday. Lastly, let's set the range of the recurrence. So starting on tomorrow on Thursday, and when do you want it to end? Never, and it'll just repeat every week, forever. Or end it after a certain number of occurrences, or by a certain date. I'd like to end it, maybe let's go a few more months out here. I want to end it by the end of 2007. Click OK when you're done with the recurrence settings, and you'll notice that the information appears here in the appointment item itself, telling me what the recurrence is. And those other items have now been entered into my calendar. I can also categorize this, much like we did with email messages. So by clicking the Categorize button here, I can choose what category it goes in. And you can set it in more than one, but for now, this is an administration type task, so I'm going to put it in the administration category. And that's going to color code the item, and it'll appear as such on my calendar. Let's save and close. Here you can see this new item is now in my calendar. Note it's orange because it's been categorized as an administration item, and that's category I've set to orange. And notice this little icon here that looks like a yin and yang arrow, and that indicates that it is recurring, it's going to repeat. If we back up and look at the weekly view of my calendar, we can see this. And if we look at the monthly view, and we look at it in more detail, we can see that that particular appointment is going to repeat every week as I've asked.